why a manifestation isn't working. Look, man, I'm going to tell you why a manifestation isn't working for you. And it's got nothing to do with your technique. Now, I've worked with a few entrepreneurs and they've tried dozens of things, right? Visualizations, affirmations, vision boards, meditations. Some of them even wake up at like 5 a.m. like those productivity gurus tells them to. And they're still stuck. You know what I mean? Here's what I found. There's this hidden frequency that is sabotaging your manifestation results. And this frequency, it got programmed into you before you were 7 years old. When your brain was operating between theta and alpha state. Some people call it hypnosis. Most coaches teaches you it's about consistency or detachment or raising the vibration, but they're missing the real shit, man. The real problem isn't your technique. It's your memory from the past. I'm going to break down the exact 3-step process that I've used with my clients. One of my clients went from being stuck at 30K months and he hit 60K months in just a matter of 8 weeks. After we clear out his childhood programming. Here's what we're covering today. Why traditional manifestation advice fails. The hidden programming that is blocking you from your manifestation. Real examples from my clients and my own life. And the exact 3-step process to break free. If you're tired of wondering why your manifestation isn't working, let's get into it, man. Now, you have been trying to manifest for months or even years. You have consumed all the content, read the books, follow the guidance. You know about affirmations, visualizations, likes attract likes, all that shit. But nothing is moving the needle for you, man. Some coaches tells you it's normal, that you need to detach. Others say caring about the results is exactly why it's not working. So you start falling into this analysis paralysis bullshit. You start questioning everything, man. Is my meditation working? Should I be doing cold showers at like 5 a.m.? Is my visualizations technique off? Your brain starts to go crazy. Eventually, you're like, wow, fuck this. Life was better before I learned all of this manifestation stuff. If that resonates with you, you're intrigued because this video could very likely be your solution. Here's what nobody is telling you, man. Your technique isn't the problem. Your consistency isn't the problem either, man. Hell, even your belief system isn't the problem. At least not the conscious one. The problem is you're trying to manifest from a frequency that got programmed into you when you had zero control over it, man. Until you address this hidden programming, you can do affirmations until you're blue in the face. It won't work consistently. But here's where it gets interesting, man. So I'm going to break it down to you what I mean by your hidden frequency. So from the age to 0 to 7 years old. Some of you might notice, some of you might not notice, but essentially from 0 to 7 years old, your brain oscillates from theta to alpha state, right? So your brain waves is anywhere from theta to alpha state. But why does this matter? Is this just a bunch of random words I'm throwing out? No, it's not. The thing is, our mind is one, but it consists of 2 compartments, right? There's the conscious mind and obviously the subconscious mind. The thing is, when your brain is in the theta state to alpha state, during this wave, when your brain is oscillating between theta and alpha, it is the easiest for your brain to bypass your conscious mind and go straight to the subconscious mind. This is the optimal state of retuning your subconscious mind. It goes straight to your subconscious during this state, which is the same as hypnosis. That's why hypnosis works, because it bypasses your conscious mind and goes straight to your subconscious mind. So what does that mean? This means that for the first 7 years of your life, you are basically in a hypnotic trance for 24/7. So all the time you're in a hypnotic trance. So what does that mean? That means that you're getting programmed by whoever raised you during these times. That's why your parents weren't just taking care of you, man. Your parents are your universe. Essentially, because of that, your parents are your universe. Now, I'm going to explain what I mean by that. The belief about money, relationship, success all become part of your belief system. Their emotional patterns become your patterns. But here's the kicker, man. Some of you might have heard this, some of you might have not. But 95% of your adult life is, in fact, being run by a subconscious mind on autopilot. So that means that your first 7 years of programming is more likely than not still running 95% of your reality. So when you're trying to manifest, what is it that we want to manifest, right? Abundance. You want to manifest abundance. However, more likely than not, your subconscious programming is in scarcity. You're literally just fighting yourself over and over again, flip-flopping. I'm abundant, but deep down the subconscious mind is like, I'm poor. Now, let me give you a real example. I had a client who grew up essentially in a single parent household with a single mom. She worked late every night, came home feeling exhausted. So naturally, she took her frustrations out on him. He told me that he would get his ass beat for things that he didn't even do, man. Now, this creates a pattern because he didn't do anything. So he was innocent, or at the very least, when he was a child, he felt like he was innocent, right? So he was an innocent child. But what did he get in exchange? He was innocent, but he still got punished by his parents, or by his parent, his mom. Now, why do I need to highlight this? Because after I found out that, it's the exact same pattern that he has during his adult life. Now we're going to fast forward to his adult life. Essentially, he's an entrepreneur and he owns a restaurant. So I would call him a retail store owner, essentially. He told me that, Reeves, I get random people who just leave 1-star Google review indicating that I spit on their food. Or randomly, he would just be walking through a nice neighborhood because essentially he lives in a nice suburban area himself. And people would just give him dirty look for no reason. He would just be walking his dog, doing nothing, and people just randomly stare at him. Now, at this point, like, what is it that we like to associate that with, right? When we're randomly getting shit from people. Usually, it's this word right here. We write them off as coincidence, but there's no coincidence in the universe. This was literally just his subconscious programming playing out onto him. The universe was mirroring his deepest belief that got programmed onto him when he was 0 to 7 years old, which is, I'm innocent, but I get punished anyway. And I'm sure that is a pattern that happens to a lot of you, or maybe sometimes you feel like you're victimizing yourself, but you're not really victimizing yourself because you do in fact get fucked by people that you didn't even have any association with sometimes, or it comes unexpected. So after we worked together with him for like 8 weeks to clear his programming, everything changed, man. He literally went from 30K to 60K in a matter of 8 weeks. And he was stuck at 30K for like a year, I would say. But let me tell you even a more personal story, man. So me personally, for the longest time, I couldn't quite figure out why is it that my manifestation isn't working. Like in my mind, I was just thinking this. I was doing everything right. What the fuck? The universe is against me and stuff. That's another freaking scary part because essentially that is a victimization mentality that I got programmed into when I was younger, by the way. After studying and watching videos and getting mentor and coach, I realized I had to dive deep into my childhood programming and fix this shit. So growing up, my parents' finance were shit, man. I'm not going to gatekeep anything. That's just the truth. They were struggling in their own business. They used to own a restaurant. Every dinner conversation was about how terrible their business was. They hit me with the classic lines. So I'm a Cantonese background, but there's this saying that 揾食艱難, which essentially equivalent to English, so essentially they would always just say like, yo, getting bread is hard, man. And at the time, because my parents weren't so successful financially, we actually lived with our grandparents, which is my grandmother, my grandfather, and then my parents and myself. And it's funny because she was always also in scarcity mode. That explains why my parents are in scarcity mode. So if your parents were also an entrepreneur or small business owner, very likely you might have heard these lines. And I'm going to write them down because this might resonate with you really well. I would hear things like, money doesn't grow on trees. That's a classic line. What's another one that you always hear during conversations? Well, another one would be, it's so hard out here, man. And then another classic line, people are cheap. Our customers are cheap fucks. And then there's a few more, but I'm not going to write them down because my handwriting is slow, firstly. Secondly, it's not the most beautiful handwriting ever, but essentially there would be lines like, these customers treat us like garbage. They look down on us because we're immigrants, because we're Asians. So what happens because of that? I got brainwashed into thinking that money is hard to make out here. That is my default belief since I was a kid. That if you run a business, you just have to take shit from customer, and that's just the way it is. Fast forward when I started my first business, which is a retail business when I was 22 years old. These exact patterns, money doesn't grow on trees. It's so hard out here. People are cheap. They all just showed up in my business. They became my daily reality that I had no fucking chance to shake them off. And here's what's the craziest part, right? It only happened to me. Essentially, I started this business with a business partner. But since my business partner had different programming growing up, he rarely had to deal with this stuff. that I'm dealing with, which is money doesn't grow on trees. It's so hard out here. People are cheap. I'm not saying that that's what people told me when I was running my business. I'm saying that there were circumstances, events that led me into these beliefs over and over and over again. For example, I will explain a product to customers and that they seem disinterested. They seem so bored of me. Then they'll walk to my business partner and ask him questions. And he literally just gives the exact same answers, almost word to word. And guess what they say? Wow, you're so smart and educated. At the time, I was so cheesed. I was watching this like, what the fuck, man? Is it because I'm Asian? Is it because he's a white guy, so he gets the right privilege? And yeah, if you're at this point, you feel like I have a victim mentality. I did. I'm not going to sugarcoat. I did have a victim mentality for like majority of my life. Whenever something went wrong, I just have so many fucking excuses and never myself. I'm going to say stuff like, oh, it's because I'm Asian. Oh, it's because I'm hairy. Oh, it's because I'm not handsome because, you treat me like garbage because you think that I'm not a good looking motherfucker. But deep down, that was actually my belief, not like their belief, but I'm projecting my belief onto theirs back to me. And this is a classic one for any immigrants. We'll say stuff like, we'll start thinking in our head, right? Is it because of my accent? Is it because of my background? Hence why I'm built for adversity and never going to have an easy, smooth life, just like these white people do. So I literally, because of my programming, I convinced myself that I was at a disadvantage even before the world had shown it to me. I already believed that in my belief system. I had this deep down belief in my head that they'll never see me the same way. They'll never accept me the same way. They treat me different because of how I look and stuff like that. But all of this shit, right? All of this shit is nothing more than this, which we just mentioned earlier in the video. Essentially, it looks like it's a bunch of words, right? Like money doesn't grow on trees and all these like stuff. All of this shit, it's not because I was born with a victimization mentality. It's not because I fucking love being a victim. It's because of my childhood programming just playing out in my life. Eventually, my parents' belief about being looked down on has become my reality and registered in my reality for a long time. But here's what changed everything, man. All right, just like I promised earlier, like if you had resonate with this video, I'm going to show you the 3 exact process to break free from that pattern so you don't have to deal with it ever again in your life. This is essentially what I did myself to break this loop, what I did for my clients to break this loop, and it seems to have a pretty high success rate so far. So here we go. Step 1. This is essentially the beginning of everything. The step 1, identify your trigger events. First, you got to identify what triggers the most negative emotion, what events you had in your memory that triggered the most negative emotion out of you, man. Personally, for me, I'm just giving you examples that hopefully can help you search it. But personally, for me, it was essentially that I was told by my parents that I'm adopted when I was younger as a joke. Stuff like how I was a financial burden because I had to go to a nice school, but I didn't have a choice. They're the one who sent me to the nice schools. Now, it doesn't have to be like a massive trauma or anything like that. Just gather the events that hit you the hardest and be honest. And I don't want you to go like, I'm a little bitch or feel this way. No, be honest with yourself. You ain't gonna tell me, but you gotta be honest with yourself. Now, if you have a problem identifying them, just look at your current reality, man. What do you hate most about yourself in your current situation in life? If it's a temper, for example, you probably got anger problems, parents when you grew up, or you got abused a lot. If it's financial money problem, more likely than not, you got fed scarcity programming when you were younger, man, by your parents or whoever raised you. This is the key. The key of the step 1 is you have to be brutally honest with yourself. You don't need to share this to anyone, but you got to be brutally honest with yourself. Now, step 2, this is the nitty-gritty fun part, I would say. Compare your desires. So step 2 is essentially compare your current reality to your desired reality. Now, take those shitty situations that you're currently dealing with and put them right next to the desired reality, man. Whether it's you want to generate income effortlessly, you want to be loved by people, whatever it is, man. And here's the key question. This is the question that might give you a light bulb moment and give you like, damn. Do you think someone who's abundant and loved would have rough childhood and broke parents? Or were they probably raised with wealth and love? I mean, you know the answer, man. You might be thinking, but Reeves, it's already happened. What the fuck am I supposed to do about it? This might blow your mind, man. While we're on a physical reality, on a physical plane, we can technically actually travel back to the past and go back to the past. We can mentally travel to the past, essentially. You can absolutely change your memory of your past. And step 3, revise your memory. Revise your memory. This is step 3. Now, this might sound cheesy and this name gets thrown around a lot, but Neville Goddard says imagination creates reality, right? So based on this quote right here that he says imagination creates reality by Neville Goddard, which is one of the most prestigious, most classic manifestation teacher or whatever you want to call him, you need to imagine you had good parents that raised you right and they were financially abundant. But here's the key point. That sounds illogical. Why? Because this will only work when you realize what happened wasn't entirely your parents' fault, man. Now, I'm not going to be one of those gurus out here and say, everything that happens in reality is your fault. It's your fault. You got to blame yourself. That's bullshit, man. But you need to come to an understanding what we see in our reality is dependent upon what frequency we're tuned into at the moment. That's why we have moments like this, right? We have moments where we look back 3 years ago at something we did and then go, man, I can't believe I was so upset over this single woman. I can't believe that I was so fucking pissed off over this situation. Like, that was some stupid shit. And the reason why for that is because your consciousness expanded. Now, it's a classic that we always hear older people say that when they get older, they understood why their parents did what they did. And they come to the realization that what they did was good for them and they let go and forgave them. But real talk, do you really want to hold on to that hatred to your parents until you're like 40 or 50 years old and then come to the realization they were good? What they did was actually tough love, good for me. It wasn't entirely their fault. And then you let go? Because that Buddha says holding on to hate is like holding on to hot rocks, right? It only burns you. I need you to recalibrate your mind and come to understanding that you're doing this for yourself. You're not doing this for your parents or anyone else. You're doing this for yourself. Now, here's what's going to be interesting, right? Because when you start doing that, when you start actually trying to let go and say like, yeah, it wasn't my parents' fault. I understand they were tuning to a certain frequency. That's why they did what they did. That's when this right here is going to play with you. And this is part of you. That's when your ego is going to start fucking with your mind. It's going to resist and say stuff like, but they beat me up. They fucked me. They said horrible things to me. They punished me for fucking nothing, for something I didn't do. Why should I forgive them? But listen, you deserve to be free. You want to break that generation cycle? Sometimes you have to sacrifice, man. Are you ready to sacrifice your old self and finally be in alignment with what you want, man? Now, we mentioned a lot in the video, like memory revision and go on the parents and stuff. All those was to help your brain to conceptualize what actually happened so you can be easy to let go. But this is a practical application to how to actually revision your memory. So interesting fact, right? Like, there are times during our day that we actually also oscillate between theta and alpha waves, our brain waves. And usually, it's not the exact number. Usually, it's right when you wake up and right before you go to bed. During these times, your brain is just like when you were 0 to 7 years old again. Theta and alpha state, naturally when you just woke up and before you go to bed, when you're in that complete relaxation. So when your brain goes into this theta and alpha state before you go to sleep, and those childhood memories start to pop up, replay them and change them, man. That's a golden time and opportunity to do so. So what will be a few examples that we can come up with, right? Like, this is a very common one. My parents struggling with money, those dinner conversations you had, them counting like cents and changes and stuff like that. I need you to create an opposite side of that, a polarity side of that. So I need you to imagine your parents being abundant. So that toy car you wanted to get when you were a kid, imagine yourself getting them, right? That phone you wanted to get, that Nokia, Sony Ericsson phone you wanted to get, imagine they just gave it to you because they were so financially abundant. Imagine them teaching you positive money concepts, teaching you the right finances advice. What's another common one that we can come up with, right? Like, well, as an Asian, grew up in an Asian parents' household myself, this is a very, very common one, right? Harsh words. So what I did was actually imagining them saying nice words, as ironic as it sounds. So instead of saying harsh words, I imagined them being loving and supportive. So for example, when I got bullied when I was in elementary school, when I went back to home, instead of imagining my dad call me a pussy and say that, why didn't you beat him up and all this shit, I imagined my dad taught me, hey, you gotta stand up for yourself, son. You're a dude, you're a man. Instead of scarcity dinner conversations, imagine them talking about opportunities and abundance to you. I promise you, you do this for 30 days straight, no days off. you will start seeing your external reality shift. Because one fun fact about the subconscious mind is that, let's say this is your subconscious mind. Excuse me for shitty drawing again, because I'm not an artist, but let's say this is your subconscious mind. Everything I told you to do was essentially imagination, because imagination creates reality. What happened in reality when you were a kid, right? All those subconscious programming you had. Your subconscious mind cannot tell the difference between imagination and reality. You cannot tell. What does that mean? That means that when you consistently feed your subconscious with the new programming at the optimum state, which is right when you wake up and before you go to bed, the universe has no choice but to create a reality that matches you, man. You might be thinking to yourself, this is lying to myself or toxic positivity. No, this isn't lying to yourself or toxic positivity, man. This is about taking control of the programming that has been running your life without your permission. So your current reality is nothing more than a reflection of your past programming. Your current reality is nothing more than a reflection of your past programming. Nothing more, nothing less. So we're going to change the programming, hence change your current reality. It works backwards. Another of my clients was stuck at 10K a month for like 2 years in his business revenue. His programming was specifically around having to work hard to earn every penny. We revisited those memories and tweaked his brain a little bit, and he hit 25K in like 6 weeks. Exact same business strategies, just different programming. So there you have it, man. The real reason why your manifestation isn't working has been revealed to you. It's not your technique, it's not your consistency. It's the programming that got installed before you could even choose, man. But now you know how to change it. Step 1, identify your trigger events. Step 2, compare your current reality to your desires. Step 3, revise your memories to match who you want to become. Now, this is going to be deep work. It's not easy to do alone. If you're serious about breaking these patterns and want my help to identify your mental blocks, I work with entrepreneurs in my subconscious rewiring programming. We dig deep into your childhood programming, find the exact patterns that is sabotaging your success, and we systematically reprogram them for abundance. If you want to work with me one-on-one, link is in my bio and the description. Just shoot me a DM on Instagram. You have been unconsciously manifesting your whole life based on the programming that you didn't get to choose. It is time to consciously create what you actually want. If this video helped you to understand why your manifestation isn't working, smash that like button and subscribe for more content, because all my videos are going to be about rewiring the subconscious, man. And if you would like, drop a comment. What childhood pattern are you ready to release, man? See you in the next one.